and Mara's, Ram, he has, and he actually takes so many vows, also seen the Ramayana, and they keep them. He had a vow, I'll only marry one wife. He only married one wife. Kshatriyas used to marry many wives. He only married one wife. I think he had promised that whenever he shoots an arrow, it must hit a target. That was kind of one vow. So his arrows would always hit something. But that's the Ramayana is especially read because of we see the integrity and so on of the persons involved. They're always following the principles of Dharma, the principles of religion. They don't deviate from that. This is what is a fascinating thing about Ramayana. The victory of Dharma. This is actually where the victory is. It's a victory of Ram, but actually really it's a victory of Dharma, a victory of religious principles being observed in all circumstances, in the most trying circumstances. And how, as a result of that, even though externally sometimes appears that there is sorrow and tragedy and disaster because of that, but still actually all good fortune is there. One has to have transcendental eyes to see it, but all good fortune is there. So much so that anyone who reads the Ramayana, actually his life becomes very fortunate. One develops all good qualities by reading the Ramayana and the other Vedic literatures, but Ramayana is especially popular. It's a very, very popular book still. And children, they are hearing parents, they're reading the Ramayana for them because it is very exciting. And but at the same time, when it's not only an exciting story, it's not a story, history. It's exciting history. And then the children, they simply, of course, because children like some good stories, excitement, heroes, and so on. And but then same time they associate with the persons of the Ramayana, and they actually emulate them. They actually adopt these personalities as their as their models in life. And that's also one why Ramayana should be read. Here we have actually model ideal personalities, and by hearing about them, then we can also develop the same character. At least this is our goal. That's one thing in the modern world. The role models that society is projecting towards us it's people with low character. It's actually basically it's mediocre people we hear about. In those who are portrayed in the. Of course, there are some heroes. But they're not. What are they? Businessmen and statesmen like that, with very low character. Or many of the novels and stories that have been read, books that have been printed, is actually generally about the average person, isn't it? And a good novel is considered someone who was able to really portray, the character of a normal average person. I haven't read novels for many years, but that's very. I remember the novels I was reading about. It was about normal people, and of course we have all respect for normal people, but they are just normal, average, mediocre people. In Vedic culture, they are not the ones you hear about. You hear about those who are exceptional, those who are ideal, those whose character actually can be copied, and thus everyone will strive for that instead of being satisfied with mediocrity. Actually, in our society, mediocrity is the norm. It's actually the ideal, and there is a whole agenda and philosophy behind that. It's we live in the world of Janteloven, where nobody should excel, nobody should be more than others. Everyone should be like everyone else and like that. So also literature has been, spread everywhere where this is being portrayed and this is the ideal. Yes, just see how ideal he was. He was like everyone else. He wasn't anything special. Just see, he was really a perfect human being. He was just ordinary. And then everyone remains ordinary like that. And I'm comfortable with it, it's, and my role models, they're also full of lusty desires and full of, have all kinds of bad habits, and it's normal, and I also, I should not feel bad about that. It's kind of, the movement is being, but the Vedic culture is different. We actually hear about ideal personalities, and as in Ramayana, Mahabharata, also filled with all persons of the highest character, and we read about them, we become attracted to them, we want to be like that, and in this way, society becomes filled with people with high character, high quality. And as again we see this in this verse is about vows and so on. But this is one of the characters of a person who has character, who's of high caliber. He will take vows, he will make promises, and he will fulfill promises. That's I say it's basic human level. And if you learn to take the right kind of vows and devotional service, stick to devotional service, then there one will actually achieve the highest perfection in what one can. All perfection that is possible to achieve can be achieved by taking and keeping one's vows in devotional service. So I'll end here. Anything you guys want to say?
You mentioned that now Ekapatni. But as we know, the subjects, there are also other moral codex that if a woman approaches them for offspring, then they should reject.
Yeah.
So how is it that Ekapatni is considered a higher Roman for Kshatriya, or how is it that when she rejects Shupanaka, it comes?
Yeah. Good question.
Is it a better, higher thing to follow for Kshatriya, or is it just his purse? How's that to be thought? We had a discussion about that.
I don't know. But Ram had taken a vow, and therefore to break that vow would be, even a woman who approaches him, then he has to say no to her. Just like Bhishma had taken the vow of brahmacharya, no, doesn't marry. So even women who approach him, they're told, no, I'm brahmacharya. And I mean that vow could not be broken under the excuse that I'm Kshatriya and a woman has approached me. That would have been a fall. I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly how this principle of that woman who approaches Kshatriya, he must fulfill her desire always. Actually, how it precisely applies, I don't know. I know it doesn't apply to anyone of us here. We're not Kshatriyas. So even though we might like to, I all the many women we all approach by the right time. I don't have to say no to them. For sure. You're the one that had a problem with it. Yeah.
And is it actually that when Bhishmadev kidnapped this Amba and Ambalika, right?
Yeah.
So then it was like he was supposed to actually marry them, but he get this vow. Wow, but then is it actually that he or Amba or Ambalika was approached to Parashurama or some authority, some Brahman authority,
Parashurama.
and then he like give him like instruction. You should like you can also break your vow by marrying or something like this. Is it something that actually?
Yeah, Parashurama was involved, and Parashurama actually told, or he ordered Bhishma, no, you must marry her now. And Bhishma said no, and then they were fighting.
So is it that actually some authority can actually decide?
Yeah, authorities can go in, but then again, there are different kinds of authorities. We see that the Kumaras were also told by their authority, Brahma, to marry and have children, but they said no. So it was, and that was not wrong. And also, it was not wrong of Bhishma to say no to Parashurama. Of course, that becomes complicated. When is it a higher principle, and when can you refuse the order of an authority? It's a tricky thing to. But I mean, if it actually is for a higher cause, then also one will know, and one will also be able to act on it.
I was wondering how this is about you develop the qualities of the persons you hear of.
Mm-hmm.
Is this like a subtle thing, or is it just like straight out that you listen and you say like, wow, that's attractive, and then you develop this?
Oh, it's both. I mean, you can, but it's also subtle. You might say, you hear about materialists and like that, and you say, no, I'll not become like that. And, I'm not at all attracted. But you become contaminated subtly, and if you cultivate constantly, even though you have higher knowledge, but gradually you will become attracted to the materialist and become one yourself also. We are so tiny, so what we associate with will rub off, and ultimately we will become like that also. You have to be a complete transcendentalist. Prabhupada could go to the West and not be affected at all, but affect everyone. So you can do that if you're a great transcendentalist. But for us ordinary people, then association will affect us very much, and we become like what we are associating with. Therefore we have the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, so we can associate with devotees within that. And
what? Devotees who?
So we can associate with devotees within the society, because when we associate with devotees, we become like the devotees. We will acquire we adopt their values, their qualities, and if we associate with others, we will definitely also acquire some of their values and qualities. Okay. We should stop here. Sure. Thank you. Sure.